welcome back to the final part I wanted to look at. And again, like I said in the last video, doing the effects for the most part will be a combination of the last two videos I showed you. So large blocks for the atmosphere and perhaps smaller blocks or smaller frame accurate clips for individual sections. I think, footsteps, for example, I'll do a large section of footsteps, same with clothing passes, but then shotgun shots, explosions, things like that, I'll go through and put in very small, accurate things. So I'll just start by doing a random couple of tracks, and then I'll fill it in my own time. So let's start with the Atmos. It's super easy. Grab the length of the entire clip, and I can use the colon key to move the selection down onto the right track, make a group, and call this port or harbour or whatever. So if we look at the actual background, it's going to be set at a dock, so I'm going to have the sound of waves lapping, maybe seabirds, that sort of thing. I'll either find FX library harbour shot, or I'll go out to the harbour at a quiet time and try and record the sounds of actual water in that sort of perspective, depending on what I want to do. Because it's open air, there's a very good chance there's going to be some wind, and both of these Atmos tracks are going to run pretty much through the whole thing, because the whole scene is continuous in that environment. So I'm just going to lay them over the back. So again, I'll hit colon, move the selection down, hit Option Command G, make a group, and call it wind. And I can decide whether I want it to be a howling gale or just sort of a breeze. The next Atmos track I've got here is the Hell Tower, and you remember from the previous videos about setting up the tracks, the Hell Tower and the fire are pretty much going to be there the whole time as well. So as we go through the video, especially if I mute the original soundtrack, we will be able to see there's the Hell Tower hidden behind the shark at the moment, but it's burning. You can see at the top it's burning away. So again, I'm going to make those Atmos tracks individual clip groups, and throw one down there. So it's already calling itself Hell Tower and fire. So they're going to be pretty easy. I may want to, what I'm actually going to do is have them running the whole time, but I'll automate them. So when they're in a shot like this at the moment, where you can see it directly, it'll be louder than when it's off camera, and it'll just be crackling in the background. Maybe make it 6 dB quieter or something like that as I go through. Here's the first Atmos track that is specific, and if we turn the soundtrack on, essentially in this game playthrough, sort of in a setup. So if I go through the track, it's not till about here where the character follows this cable and turns on a generator, that the zombies start emerging from the ground. So that's kind of when the zombies start emerging. They're emerging all over the play area. So this is the zombie horde that goes rah as it comes up. So let's find that. You see that in the background that's going on. So just like we did with the dialogue, I'm going to go along finding it. I've got my playback following, my insertion following playback. So wherever I stop, it should leave the cursor. I'm going to turn that off so that I can find the exact point. Okay, so if I go up and make sure my nudge and everything, I forgot, I need to set up my time code and make sure everything is one frame. That will make my life a lot easier. Probably a good idea to do that on the master session before you start individually working on things. So now I should be able to nudge my way across. Looks like about here. back a couple. And it's definitely stopped by here. So one zombie horde section. And from there on in, it's going to be the conglomeration of individual zombies with buried into the background of the hell tower, which I was thinking of making a similar sort of sound for. So there's our marker for the zombie horde, and we're getting into footsteps. So let's look at June's footsteps, because this is going to be relatively important, because they're going to be the most heard ones. Okay, so it starts off with June running. So I'm fading in from black, and you could have footsteps fading under that. Yeah. So remembering our key commands to shift click and then use nudge, frame by frame. Now frame by frame takes its time, doesn't it? As I click it, I've got to do 24, or in fact for this video, if we look on the video track, 29.97 frames for every second, and it's a 2-minute clip. So 120 seconds. So I don't really want to be doing that many clicks. So I'm just going to look at the action. So this is a good opportunity to use the shift drag selector to see where June starts and stops. So if I hit return and then shift click and drag, I can see June stopped here to shoot. So I'm just going to go there. There's some number of footsteps. Yeah, so don't run, stop. That's good enough. Make a group, call it footsteps. Stop. And then okay, so there's a couple of steps there. So again, you can just nudge through, gun fires, perspective turns, and a zombie goes crazy, or zombie shark goes crazy. And here we see the first step. So I'm just using the nudge command, and if you look down at the bottom of the screen, you can see June's back foot come forward and put a foot down about there. So that would be a footstep marker. And then I can use the shift click to create a selection, and once I've got a selection I can go shift command, nudge, and I can see June moving, but then stopping. So skidding to a stop there, make another group. Skids to a stop. Oops. What I did there is I made the whole selection, so I'm just going to go undo. I'm going to undo all the way back. In fact, this is a good time to use the undo history. Undo history, lots of nudging, nudge. And let's see if I can get down back to the nudge where that selection disappears. Nope. Okay, so I must have nudged 64 times. That's a bit of a bummer. So what I can do now is if I roll that selection, so this will probably happen to you as well. If I nudge left, it's looking at the start of this selection. So we'll just shot the tower. There's the step that I used as my first. So the back foot coming forward, turn and step. That's the start of my selection. So let's just play through. So round about there, if I back up, just nudge back, standing still, foot coming down about there, step. And this time, how far is June running? Let's find out. Run, run, run. Step, 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 step. So as you see, as you're going through using this nudge command, when you're putting individual footsteps in place, it's fairly easy to line them up. But I'm just making one selection, and June has stopped moving there. So there we go, another footsteps selection. Tab to the end of the section, and again, just nudge through if you want. Remember that if you're using key command focus, this little A to Z fella up here being yellow, then the question mark or the M key moves you back a bigger increment. So in that case, it's the next increment up 5 frames at a time. So if I hit question mark, it'll go 5 frames at a time. And there I can see June starts walking, so I can go back 1 frame to where she is standing still. 1, 2, 3, foot comes down. Boom. Select a frame, shift option plus as the running occurs. Or walking in this case, carrying a heavy machine gun, stops and brings a gun to bear. So make a group, and you get the idea. You can carry on. So those tools, quite important. I'll go through and do that, and basically go through and populate every sound I need in here. So in some cases it's like footsteps for June, it's going to be going through the whole section and doing all the footsteps for and then looking at footsteps in water and doing a section of that, all the zombie footsteps that I think need to be in there, all the footsteps running for the running zombie. They're all on the same cobblestone port wharf, I guess, so they're all going to be fairly similar. And when I record the footsteps for June, I'll be running on concrete with combat boots on. For the zombies, I'll be dragging my feet a little more, shuffling in a classic zombie shuffle. And then I'll go through and look at a clothes pass, so every time June's moving, probably locked to the footsteps, I'll do, you sort of get a jacket and rub it and try to move it in time with the character. Probably not too important with the density of sounds we've got going on here, but it doesn't hurt because she is wearing ammo belts and extra guns, and so there's sort of a bit of clanking going on. Shotgun shots, the pump and movement, all of that sort of thing, all have to be recorded, and I need to make some electric cable sounds, but you get the idea. For the production plan, the main thing is to go through, and this could be a job for 2 or even 3 people. So somebody might say, I'll do these 10 tracks and just go through one at a time, populating them. And in the next video, which I'll be doing very soon, we will see how to put it all together. We'll see you then.